sequence start. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good evening, everybody. How are you doing out there? Let's see who we got in the chat. We have got Saturn's Jeremy, New Jersey Devil, Marjorie Foster, Hassan Alamadi, hello. Daniel Mine, good evening, Jake and all. Hope everyone's doing well. Hi, guys. Thank you for joining in to this Wednesday night live stream. My goal is to keep this at right about an hour-ish. We can go a little bit longer if necessary, but I'm hoping to keep it to an hour. Anyway, news broke today. I'm sure most of you have seen it. Probably nothing too, crazy. But we're going to talk through it, and I'll go more in depth on this stuff when I've had time to prepare better, maybe tomorrow. I'm just so excited that we're getting a little bit of the Epstein files story filtering back into the mainstream conscience again. So let me take a look here. We have got we've got about 47 people still jumping in, 50 viewers now, 11 likes. Hit the like button. Let me give you my quick upfront donation spiel, and then we're going to jump right into the story. I put the links in just a minute ago, how you can support my channel. You can make a super chat donation. You can go to buymeacoffee.com/BlackstoneIntel. You can go to paypal.me/BlackstoneIntel. Patreon.com/BlackstoneIntel. And if you want to subscribe to my newsletter, which will include a lot of the data that I am going to be sharing tonight, the timeline and so forth, you can go to blackstoneintel.substack.com. And that is where I post most of my reports. Britt says, I need to know the why. I will go more into the why in my next stream. I was hoping to prepare enough tonight for that, but the news just broke today, these emails and everything, and I was in bed this morning. I was up all night. I didn't get to bed until around 6 o'clock this morning, and then I had been asleep about 4 hours when my phone rang, and it was my wife. She was taking my my 14-year-old son. She had my twin girls in the car with him, taking my son to he's taking some judo right now. So she was driving him to that. She called and said, "Hey, got a car problem." So I drove out and ended up having to have the car towed. As it turns out, our minivan has 2 broken axles on the front, which is going to be they're telling me $1,100 to fix that. So I'm just glad nobody was hurt and she was able to get off the road safely. But anyway, donate toward Jake's new axles. And anybody that makes a donation of $5 or more will get their name entered into tonight's drawing. Tonight's drawing is going to be for a Jeff Epstein. This air freshener didn't hang itself. Smells like lavender massage oil and the tears of the brokenhearted. Actually, it smells like nothing. It's acrylic. It doesn't actually smell at all. So anyway, let's go ahead. So make your donations. I did a live stream yesterday, and I was an hour into it, and the only person who had donated in that first hour was R Factor. So I'm hoping that over the course of this next hour, some of you guys will jump in. And as you know, I've been talking about this Epstein stuff for years. It has become fashionable for influencers to talk about the Epstein stuff. But long before Trump was even running for president, I had been talking about Epstein and reporting on it in conjunction with other reporting I had been doing over the years on child sex trafficking and things like that. Some of you know I had lived in Southeast Asia for a few years, and among the work that I did there, I did work with, especially in Bangkok, all throughout Thailand, but especially in Bangkok, lots of child sex trafficking. So I did a lot of work there. Anyway, back here in the States, I did some work. I mean, you old timers will remember talking through some of this stuff over, a handful of years. We did the Habbo Hotel stuff where I'd go catfishing and get predators and get them to give me their data. give me their licenses and things, and we'd set up sting operations, and ended up the biggest thing that we did was we broke up a North Hollywood sex trafficking ring where they were recruiting teenage girls, young teenage girls mostly, girls down on their luck, girls having trouble, family problems, looking to make money, promise them modeling careers, and we're going to send you overseas and you're going to be an international model, you're going to go on yachts, you're going to do all this stuff, you're going to meet rich people. And they were recruiting them through Facebook, among other places. And the guy behind it, I had been after him already for a while. He had connections in the U.S. State Department. I don't want to get too much off on all that. And it ended up with me going out collecting data out there in person in, 2015, 2016, somewhere like that. And the task force, the FBI's task force on human trafficking, took the data, prosecuted, sent them running, and he ended up taking off, left the country, the main guy. But anyway, my point is I've been talking about this stuff for years, and I, of course, am not a sex trafficking victim, but having worked with some, I know how badly they want two things. They want to heal, which is very hard to heal when it's still in your face. So a lot of times the effort is to forget about it. Do what you can, but try and move on with life. That's one thing. But the other thing is you need justice. When such injustice, especially as you get older and wiser and you start to realize the extent, the depth of abuse that you were subjected to, you feel so much injustice, and knowing that the person or persons who victimized you are still out there, it's very hard to move past that. And that's why some of the survivors of the Epstein network's sex trafficking are still out there even today, literally today, speaking out and demanding transparency and trying to get things done. So I am very happy to see some progress here on this, and I find it extremely shameful that there are any people who would consider themselves either Christians or patriots or anyone who goes to bat for Donald Trump on this. If your guy's innocent, he's got nothing to lose. Just shut up about with all the excuses about why we don't need this data. Yes, we need it. We need these files released, all of them, and not with the massive redactions that render the material useless. Needs to be released. Do not defend Donald Trump on this. If he's innocent, if he has done nothing wrong, so be it. Great. But if he has done anything, we need to know. He is the U.S. president. But even if he hasn't done anything and he's just covering for other people who have, we need to know that. If he's just covering for the Mossad, for Israel, and for the billionaire mega type financiers who are pro-Israel, who fund these kinds of Epstein operations to compromise people and get blackmail, we need to know who these people are. So let's recap what we already know. And then we're going to jump into just a brief discussion of what was released today and my take on it. First of all, what do we know as far as facts? We know that in 2002, Trump referred to how Epstein likes women on the younger side. We know for a fact, because Trump has acknowledged it, that he partied with Epstein for somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 years. We know that in 2019, a Florida businessman said in an interview that he raised concerns with Trump about Jeff Epstein after watching things happen at a 1992 Calendar Girl event that Trump and Epstein that they had. We know that Trump's confidant and longtime advisor, Roger Stone, wrote in his 2016 book, he wrote about how Donald Trump used to talk about going over to Epstein's place. And here's a quote from the book. Epstein's swimming pool was full of beautiful young girls. That's what Roger Stone, who is still a loyal Trump supporter, that's what he said that Trump talked about. How he would go over there and Epstein's pool was full of, quote, beautiful young girls. And he joked that it was nice of Epstein. This is what Roger Stone said, that he said, it was nice of Epstein to let the neighborhood kids use his pool. So to see these girls in bikinis, calling them young girls, calling them neighborhood kids, suggests that Trump understood very clearly, again, that the girls surrounding Epstein, that some of them were underage. We know for a fact that one of Epstein's victims, Maria Farmer, reported suspicions about Trump to authorities, including one time to the FBI, years ago. This was before Trump ran for president as a Republican. Beyond that, this is more speculative. We know that, this part is not speculative. We know that during the summer, Trump acknowledged being aware that Ghislaine Maxwell was recruiting some of his employees, teenage girls, including Virginia Roberts. Her married name was Guthrie, but I'm just going to refer to her as Virginia Roberts. We know for a fact that Trump was aware that Epstein and Maxwell were recruiting girls away from Mar-a-Lago. He said this, he acknowledged this, because he was trying to distance himself from Epstein. Like, hey, yeah, I was so mad at Epstein, I told him, you better stop recruiting these girls. But what he did was actually acknowledge that he was aware that Epstein and Maxwell were taking teenage girls away from Mar-a-Lago for something. Given what we know that Trump has repeatedly acknowledged awareness of, that Epstein was surrounding himself with underage girls, it makes Trump's admission here very suspect. And when pressed by reporters to elaborate, Trump was unwilling to answer what he believed Epstein and Maxwell were doing with these girls, or using these girls for, that they were recruiting. Why would Trump not say anything about that? Why would he not say, well, I think it was for this? It's because that would show that he had knowledge that they were involved in sex trafficking, and that he did not try and stop it. He didn't report Epstein for it, which suggests maybe not complicity, but enabling. One more thing, and this is the thing I was going to say that is speculative, is that something that we knew previously prior to these emails today, is that back during the summer, Michael Wolff, who's a journalist who's done some pretty prominent biographies, spent quite a bit of time with Donald Trump, but even more time with Epstein, working on a book about Epstein. We know that Michael Wolff, fully aware that he would be sued for defamation by Donald Trump for saying this, he came forward and said that he was personally shown by Jeff Epstein at Epstein's house. They were talking about Trump. Epstein took him inside, said, take a look at this. Opened his safe up, pulled out a bunch of Polaroids of Donald Trump at the pool, the very same pool that Roger Stone said he heard Trump talking about, being surrounded with girls in bikinis. The pictures showed Donald Trump there in one of the pool chairs at the pool, surrounded by these girls in bikinis, laughing while pointing at a wet stain on Trump's crotch, suggesting that they had either been doing a lap dance or something that would have caused a problem. Now, that's coming from Michael Wolff. And that we don't have evidence of that. We only have his word. So I'm going to leave that one in the speculation column. But the thing is, when this stuff keeps adding up from both friends and foes, and it's universal, it all says this, it points to the same thing, you have to start saying, all right, there is smoke here. And if you think there is smoke in your house, you don't ignore it. Because where there is smoke, there is fire. And there is smoke here. And so it would behoove people who spent the last handful of years talking about saving the children and all of the chanting their QAnon slogans, it would behoove them to not be hypocrites and actually look into this by standing in support of the Republicans and the Democrats in the Congress who are trying to get the files released. So today, the story from today, House Democrats from the Oversight and Government Reform Committee disclosed previously unseen correspondence that is raising serious questions about what Trump knew about Epstein's trafficking network and Epstein's ties to these victims and Trump's ties to these victims. Thank you, Jeremy Russell. Car problems always stink. Glad no one was hurt. Thank you, brother. I'll acknowledge you again here in a little while. Thank you so much, Jeremy. And that's 4 entries for you into tonight's drawing. Nice. Okay, so here's some of the stuff that was released today. There was a 2011 email from Epstein to Ghislaine Maxwell that claims that Trump, quote, spent hours at my house with the version the Democrats released had redacted the name. And in the email, it says, it refers to Trump as the dog that hasn't barked. Because apparently at this point, no one had mentioned this to authorities. Actually, that's from I think that may be from one of the later emails. But this phrase that you hear, the dog that hasn't barked, the expression actually comes from Sherlock Holmes, got up on my bookcase there, Sherlock Holmes story. Basically means the absence of an expected event. So this discussion between Epstein and Maxwell, they're saying the dog that hasn't barked yet, when they were in the midst, especially Epstein, in the midst of media coverage and things going on, going after Epstein, the dog that hasn't barked, meaning the guy who knows something but hasn't said anything yet, was Donald Trump. And Ghislaine Maxwell responded in that email, yeah, I've been thinking about that too. Now, this leads to the obvious question. What is it that Epstein and Maxwell were talking about? What news or what information were they afraid Trump might end up talking about? They were worried that he had to, you think maybe they were just worried that Trump might suddenly start talking about, I don't know, spilling a drink on Epstein's carpet? No, they're worried about something that could be damning in the context of what was going on with Epstein at the time. They were afraid that Trump might say something, which leads us to suspect that Trump did know that Epstein and Maxwell were involved with child sex trafficking. Okay, again, we don't know yet. But I will say this, on their face, emails between Epstein and Maxwell are going to be considered reliable in court. Court rules say that conversations between co-conspirators, like this email, they're considered inherently reliable. Because when they don't think they have an audience, when 2 people who are criminals, co-conspirators, are privately discussing something with each other, they're not going to be making crap up. They're trying to cover their butts. This is considered, in a court of law, these kinds of correspondences are considered reliable. They're taken seriously. this is not proof of a crime. The proof of a crime is going to be buried in the files that Trump, for some strange reason, does not want to be released. I'm just saying, generally speaking, legal experts agree that courts view private email exchanges between co-conspirators to be reliable sources of information. All right, skip forward, back to Wolf. 2015 email between him and Epstein shows them coordinating how Trump should respond publicly to questions about his relationship with Epstein. This is as Trump was going to be participating in some Republican primary debates. If it comes up, his connection to Epstein, how should Trump respond? And why is this significant? If you think about it, it's because it implies that Trump or Trump's surrogates may have had some kind of prearranged messaging to deal with this Epstein connection, which suggests back then, while he was running for president, that there was some kind of communication between either Trump or his team and Epstein to coordinate what the messaging was going to be about Trump's relationship to Epstein and knowledge of what Epstein had been involved in. Okay, that is significant. Again, it's not proof of wrongdoing, but it is smoke that needs to be investigated. There's another email from 2019 where Epstein is writing to Michael Wolff, and he says, of course Trump knew about the girls because he asked Ghislaine Maxwell to stop recruiting them from Mar-a-Lago. So this message suggests that Trump had at least some awareness of Epstein's recruiting or trafficking of young women and had from Mar-a-Lago. And at least one of the stories that we've been hearing for years is that either Maxwell or Epstein had tried to recruit the daughter of some member there, and the guy made a stink to Trump, and Trump finally was pressured into, okay, I got to deal with this. Don't know. Yeah, Brandon in the chat says Nixon could not have gotten away with what Trump is getting away with. Incredible times we're in. That's right. It's because Republicans used to have a little bit of integrity. Because the Republican Party, Barry Goldwater and others, they went to Nixon. U.S. senators went to Nixon and said, look, you have done wrong. You're engaged in a cover-up. Resign. Because if the Democrats impeach you, we Republicans are in the Senate. When it comes to the trial, we're going to vote to have you removed from office. So do everybody a favor and just resign now. That was the Republicans in the 1970s. Republicans of the 2020s are circle the wagons, cover up, cover up, cover up. Okay, and then there's the correspondence that really makes Michael Wolff look dirty, in my opinion. Makes him look. Now, I know as a journalist myself, as someone who has talked to a lot of criminals over the years, you talk to them in a way that is not necessarily honest. You want to prod criminals to give you dirt. You don't just sit there and talk to them, stone cold, matter of fact. You can do that in some situations, but you want to get them on your side. And Michael Wolff, as I've looked at his stuff over the years, this stuff that he has said, this correspondence with Epstein had to feel really comfortable with Michael Wolff to take him inside, open up a safe, and show him pictures of compromising photos of Trump. So Michael Wolff clearly has gotten in deep with this guy. How much? My question is, how much did Michael Wolff know that he sat on, that he could have either gone to authorities with or something else, because he wanted to be able to get a good book deal and put it out in print or whatever. I understand keeping sources confident, things like that. But it just, at least I put Michael Wolff in my I don't know about this guy category. I think that what he's saying is true. I don't think that he would take a chance of saying these kinds of things publicly, knowing how litigious Donald Trump is, unless he believed that he could stand up for himself and defend his position against defamation claims in court. So I think that what Michael Wolff is saying is correct. I don't think he's lying, but he's definitely a player. He's definitely a player. For example, in this email, he writes saying, there's an opportunity to come forward this week and talk about Trump in such a way that could garner your great sympathy and help finish him. This was not long before the 2016 election. So what that shows me is that Michael Wolff was, trying to play Epstein. But also from Wolff, there's an email in 2019 that's relevant because it came during Trump's first term, while his administration was weighing significant action involving Epstein. Because remember, it was in Trump's first term that Epstein ends up being arrested and ends up being killed. Suicided. And this wasn't because Trump suddenly wants to bring this into the spotlight. It's because in 2018, the Miami Herald ran a major expose on that sweetheart deal that most people didn't know about. The sweetheart deal that had been arranged between U.S. Attorney Alex Acosta, who was supposed to be defending or representing the victims. He worked out this sweetheart deal for Epstein behind closed doors with Epstein's attorneys, including Kenneth Starr and Alan Dershowitz, two of Trump's later lawyers. Now, you may remember Alex Acosta was hired by Trump. So Trump hired Ken Starr and Alan Dershowitz to be his personal attorneys during the impeachment hearings. But Trump is also the guy who chose Alex Acosta to be his labor secretary in his first term. But after this story broke by the Miami Herald, Alex Acosta, it became such a liability for Trump. Remember, Trump, as you have seen him do all year long, he acts like a madman when this stuff comes up. He will do anything, no matter how bad it makes him look. Even if he has to turn to his own base and say, if you don't believe that this stuff is all a Biden, Obama, Hillary, Comey hoax, you're an idiot. And I don't want your support. That's what he's told his own supporters. So Donald Trump is scared to death about this Epstein stuff. So back in his first term, when this stuff starts coming up, first thing he does is he tells Alex Acosta, you're out of here. Sorry. Cutting you loose. Because the public was demanding answers, and to try and make it go away, well, let's get rid of Acosta. Now, these emails that were released today, these are part of a broader document production. This is about 23,000 pages that are being released. Mostly, this is data, not what the FBI has in its files. This is stuff that had been subpoenaed by Epstein from Epstein's estate. This is just a little bit of stuff being released while lawmakers are continuing to demand full disclosure from the Justice Department, because they believe, rightly so, that Trump's Department of Justice is participating in an institutional cover-up. Now, in response today to this stuff coming out, what did Trump do? This is so ironic. All along, Trump and his lackeys have been saying they don't want to release these files out of concern for the victims. We don't want the victims to be named. They don't want names out. We don't want to disparage. We've got to, it's about protecting. The first thing that Trump did today, when they released the email talking about when Epstein said, Trump has spent hours with so-and-so at my house. The first thing that Trump did was he said, it was Virginia Roberts. It was Virginia Roberts. The unnamed person, that redacted portion, it's Virginia Roberts. So he gave so much for protecting the identities of these people. Now, I know Virginia is dead. She died by suicide this year. But still. So the Trump people's line is, oh yeah, Virginia Roberts said that he didn't do anything to her and that he couldn't have been friendly or he was just a nice guy or whatever. So while none of these emails released today provide any kind of definitive proof that Trump took part in any kind of sex trafficking, they raise questions about his knowledge of what was going on. They raise questions about his proximity to the activities of Epstein and Maxwell, what he knew, when he knew it, and why he never reported it. So there are no smoking guns in what was released today. There's no proof that Trump did anything wrong yet. But there are strong suggestions in the materials released today that Trump knew things about Epstein and that Epstein knew things about Trump that could hurt Trump. Criminal things. In fact, in one of the emails that was released, Epstein had said, I know how dirty Donald is. He said, let me find the quote here. He said, my guess is that non-lawyers and New York business people have no idea, talking about how dirty it is, what it means to have your fixer flip. What he's talking about is that this is back when Michael Cohen, Donald Trump's fixer, his attorney, had turned on him. And he was saying, people don't know it. I know Donald Trump is dirty. So does his fixer. Now, after Trump won the New Hampshire primary in 2016, one of these reporters reached out to Epstein and said, oh, I'll bet you've got some stories you could tell about Trump. And in response, this is one of the emails released today. In response, Epstein wrote back that, oh yeah, I could show you photos of Donald in my kitchen with young women in bikinis. He also wrote in an email to this person, he said that Epstein said that he gave one of his 20-year-old girlfriends to Trump. What does that mean? Now, let me just run through really fast as I can here. This is going to be choppy. I just want to hit these points. I want to go through the timeline of some of the stuff that got us here. 2007 to 2008, Epstein is in his court case. He puts together his dream team, which includes Jay Lefkowitz, who was a senior partner at Kirkland and Ellis, the same firm that Alex Acosta had worked at. Jay Lefkowitz, outspoken Zionist. There was Ken Starr, who was the former special prosecutor who went after Bill Clinton and probably had gotten some of the dirt on Clinton from the Israeli Mossad, who's an outspoken ally of Israel. Alan Dershowitz, one of the most prominent Zionist defenders of Israel in the United States. And so you've got this legal dream team responding to a 53-page indictment for sex trafficking that was brought against Epstein. One thing that they did, led by Dershowitz, Dirty Dershowitz, is they went to smear the victims. They called the victims lying whores. You can't believe these women. They sent thugs out to intimidate these girls. And some of the victims fled. And these are young girls. They just know these are rich, powerful people. We're nobodies. A lot of them were in and out of trouble with the law already, and they fled. That's how they dealt with a lot of these sex trafficking victims. 2007 to 2008, this is where we get Alex Acosta's sweetheart deal. The FBI ends up probing this. You end up with a federal probe. They identified at least 34 underage victims. To start with, there were at least 40 girls that had been confirmed as victims by the time the federal case was prepared. They assigned U.S. Attorney Alex Acosta. He's supposed to be fighting against Epstein, trying to put Epstein in prison, because you've got 40 girls who have been sex trafficked. And instead of representing the girls, he works out this sweetheart deal with Dershowitz and Ken Starr. And this is the time at which Acosta said, I would have done more, but I was told to back off because Epstein was part of an intelligence operation. So one of the things that Acosta did for Epstein was he gave him an NPA, a non-prosecution agreement that shielded Epstein and unnamed co-conspirators, which would include Ghislaine Maxwell and pretty much everybody else who might have been a John involved in all of this, one of these abusers. Protects them from being prosecuted if Epstein takes this plea deal. And so Epstein, in 2008, he pleads guilty in Florida state court to 2 counts of solicitation of prostitution is what it was reduced to. They given him an 18-month sentence in the Palm Beach County Jail, although he only had to serve 13 months, and almost all of that was on work release. Work release. He didn't work. He was not even in the jail for most of the time. He also had to register as a sex offender. Now, this outraged his victims. They felt completely betrayed. Remember, this is 2008. Here we are in 2026, and these girls, some of them, are still trying to get justice. So, Trump supporters, think about who you want to stand with here. And if you choose to stand with Trump over this, please do not let me or anyone else ever hear you say anything ever again about you being Christians or about how you are going to be part of the rapture because you're one of the righteous that's going to be taken up to heaven. You're not. And definitely don't wave your QAnon signs about save the children, because clearly you don't give a damn about them. 2009 to 2016, in this time frame, we start to have civil suits. You've got victims filing multiple lawsuits against Epstein, against his associates, including Ghislaine Maxwell. This would be people like, Virginia Roberts. Now, in 2011, we have the entry of a woman in Florida named Pam Bondi. Pam Bondi becomes a Florida Attorney General. She does not pursue any further actions against Epstein or his associates, despite people making repeated reports. What she did do, though, was in 2013, Trump University up in New York was in big trouble under fraud investigation. And he gets in big trouble, has to pay out money in New York. Well, down in Florida, citizens of Florida who had also been duped and robbed or defrauded by Trump, they were trying to get Florida to do the same thing New York did. So what does Trump do? Trump gives Pam Bondi a $25,000 campaign donation. And for some reason, Pam Bondi decides to decline all of the demands from her own constituents in Florida to pursue charges against Trump University. Screw these victims. And you say, well, the Trump Foundation giving money to Pam Bondi, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with it is that it was illegal, what he did. In fact, he had to pay the IRS a huge penalty for improper political donation. It was a bribe is what it was. So he ends up in 2016, gets elected president of the United States, of course, with massive financial support from elite Zionist donors like billionaires Sheldon and Miriam Adelson, people like them. He takes office the beginning of 2017, immediately appoints Alex Acosta as his Secretary of Labor, which pisses off Epstein's victims, rightfully so. Just 24 days into his administration, his national security advisor, Michael Flynn, Democrat, registered Democrat, gets in big trouble. He's forced to resign because he lied to Vice President Mike Pence and he perjured himself to the FBI about his secret negotiations with Russia trying to prevent the United Nations resolution condemning illegal Israeli settlement building. Okay? So there goes Mike Flynn. But May 9th, and this is going to tie into Epstein in a minute. May 9th, 2017, Donald Trump does something pretty radical. He fires the FBI director, James Comey. Why did he do that? Because James Comey had agreed to sit down to dinner at Trump's request, and Trump asked him to play ball. He asked him to drop the FBI investigation into Mike Flynn. Why would Trump care about that? I'll tell you why. Because Mike Flynn was operating on behalf of the government of Israel. And he was offering to relieve sanctions on Russia in exchange for their pro-Israel vote at the UN. So Comey says, no, I'm sorry. I'm not going to end the investigation into him. So Trump fired him. In response to that firing, which was just blatantly corrupt, Robert Mueller gets appointed as special prosecutor to investigate this whole Russiagate thing. Was there foreign election interference on behalf of the Trump campaign in 2016? Didn't find a whole lot from Russia. Not a whole lot there. But you know what they did find that they didn't make a big deal about, but I've got a copy of the Mueller report. I read every freaking page of that boring tome of bureaucracy. What they found was that Israel, or at least private intelligence companies from Israel, including Psy Group and Black Cube, did play a role in illegal election interference. But do they go after Israel for this? No. Isn't it crazy how no matter what happens, whether it's Israeli spy Michael Pollard, the USS Liberty going back to the Johnson days, no matter what Israel does to harm the United States of America and its people, our politicians always do whatever is in the interest of Israel over what is in the interest of the American people. That's exactly what's going on right now with these Epstein files. That's the main reason that there's so much pressure on Trump to not release them. Maybe there is absolutely nothing in there that would show that Donald Trump himself personally did anything sexually inappropriate with any of these children. But I accept that as a very real possibility. I'm open to the idea that he did do something. But my concern, more than anything else, is that it's clear that this was a Mossad operation. And Donald Trump is covering up for Israel. That is it. That's the elephant in the room. 2018, investigative journalists Notably, Julie Brown from the Miami Herald, we were talking about this a minute ago, she uncovers the full scope of Epstein's abuse that had largely been covered up by Acosta, the leniency that he was given, and public outrage builds. And so that's what led to Acosta eventually having to resign. Now, May 2018, another Epstein figure, Alan Dershowitz, he attends the dedication of the relocated U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem. Also present there are Trump's primary donors, Sheldon and Miriam Adelson. These are the Zionist financiers who said, "Look, we'll give you this money, but you're gonna give back, and you're gonna be the first president of the United States in history to recognize an undivided Jerusalem as the capital of Israel." A move that kicked off peaceful Palestinian protests, which led to constant attacks on Palestinians from Israeli settlers that got worse and worse and worse and worse until the U.S. State Department in 2022 into 2023 were saying, Israel, these attacks going unchallenged by your government against the Palestinians, your citizens attacking the Palestinians and killing them, this is going to result in some serious blowback. Israel didn't listen, and we ended up with the Hamas attacks October 7th, 2023. Okay. July 6th, 2019. That's when Epstein is arrested at Teterboro Airport. New federal sex trafficking charges based partly on the evidence being re-examined. And who gets appointed as one of the prosecutors on Epstein's sex trafficking case in New York? A person named Maureen Comey, the daughter of James Comey. James Comey's daughter, Maureen, is appointed as one of the prosecutors against Epstein, Maxwell, everybody else. Finally, just weeks after that is when Alex Acosta resigned as the labor secretary. Following month, August 2019, specifically on August 10th, my dad's birthday, Epstein dies under disputed circumstances in prison. Trump's attorney general, former CIA agent Bob Barr, personally visits the prison to investigate the matter. Funny, isn't it, how the lawyers close to Trump always end up going in to personally investigate on behalf of their boss what's going on. Barr's father, you may remember, was a former OSS agent. The predecessor of the CIA was the OSS. Bob Barr's dad was Donald Barr. He had been in the OSS. Then he ends up as the headmaster at Dalton Academy when the completely uneducated, unqualified Jeff Epstein is given a job there as a teacher, from which he was later fired after Donald Barr had already left the school. Epstein ends up getting fired for inappropriate behavior toward female students. August 2019, following Epstein's death, Maureen Comey, who is one of the prosecutors going after Epstein, she transitions to focusing not on Epstein, but going after his associates. Main one being Ghislaine Maxwell. December 2019, the U.S. House of Representatives impeaches President Trump. 2020, to defend himself in the Senate trial, that Senate impeachment trial, Trump hires who? Out of all the lawyers in America, who does he hire? He hires Jeff Epstein's lawyers. He brings in Alan Dershowitz. He brings in Kenneth Starr. And you know who else he brought to serve on that team with Epstein's lawyers? Pam Bondi. So you've got Pam Bondi, Alan Dershowitz, Ken Starr working together on behalf of Trump. 7 Republican senators joined with Democrats to vote in favor of conviction. Of course, he wasn't convicted. It wasn't a majority, but it was the most bipartisan impeachment vote in U.S. history. Still, Trump is acquitted. In 2020, Ghislaine Maxwell is arrested. Maureen Comey is appointed to lead that prosecution against Ghislaine Maxwell. Maxwell was arrested while she was hiding out in New Hampshire at her boyfriend's place. FBI arrested her. She was charged with recruiting, grooming, trafficking underage girls for Jeff Epstein. July 21st, at a White House briefing, reporters asked Trump about Ghislaine Maxwell. Hey, there's this child sex trafficker named Ghislaine Maxwell that you spent years partying with. She was at your wedding, remember? What do you think about her being arrested? I just wish her well, frankly. Wait a second, what did that guy just say? Did the President of the United States just wish a notorious child sex trafficker wish her well? Let's clarify. So in an Axios interview the following month, he was asked again, you said this thing about wishing her well. Yeah, I wish her well. He repeated it. December 29th, 2021. New York jury finds Ghislaine Maxwell guilty on 5 out of 6 counts of sex trafficking a minor or minors, conspiracy, transporting a minor with intent to engage in criminal sexual activity. And she is sentenced, in June, she is sentenced to 20 years in federal prison. And she starts out, serving her sentence down in Florida. That's June 2022. Jump forward to June 2024. You got Donald Trump on the campaign trail, and he's asked about the Epstein files. Hey, we hear the FBI has got over 100,000 pages of documents about Jeff Epstein. If you are reelected, what will you do? And Trump says he would release the files. Of course, he was lying. I knew he was lying. September 2024. Lex Friedman is interviewing him. Asks him about releasing the Epstein files. How do you feel about that? Donald Trump told Lex Friedman he would have no problem releasing the files. January 2025. Here we are. We're starting to catch up to present day. Trump takes office in January. And who does he appoint as his Secretary of Commerce? Howard Lutnick. Who is Howard Lutnick? Jeff Epstein's next door neighbor. Literally. Epstein in this townhouse, Lutnick in the one on the other side of the wall. He appoints Pam Bondi, the woman who worked with Dershowitz and Starr, the woman who took a bribe down in Florida to turn against her own constituents and not go after Trump University, the woman who served with Epstein's attorneys to defend Donald Trump, is appointed the U.S. Attorney General. Then you get these nitwits, Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, appointed as Director and Deputy Director of the FBI. All along, they were talking about, oh yeah, we're part of you, MAGA. We're going to get those files. We're going to release them. We're never going to give up on this. Save the children. February 21st of this year, Attorney General Bondi tells Fox News that the Epstein client list is, quote, sitting on my desk right now. She said she was going to review the files and then release them. Also in February, Patel and Bongino, they promise any Epstein hidden records are going to be uncovered and we're going to give them to the American people. But then an order comes from the White House to the Department of Justice, the Attorney General's office, the FBI. These are all part of the Department of Justice. Pam Bondi is given some instructions to, why don't you, before you go releasing any of this stuff, why don't you, let's skim it. Let's go through it. See if Trump's name is in there. And so she orders a team of over 1,000 personnel to comb through the Epstein files before anything is released. We now know that in March, Bondi went back to Trump and said, guess what? Your name is everywhere in these files. Your name is redacted, and I don't know, but they claim that there's nothing really bad about Trump in it, which I don't believe. But anyway, Trump is informed your name's all over the files. So Trump does what? Things are getting hot for Trump right now. Or he knows they're going to get hot. He knows that if any of this stuff comes out, things are going to get hot for him. So what does he do? He goes and he says, all right, Pam, I'm going to give you a deputy attorney general who is loyal to me. I know because he was my personal attorney in my criminal trial in New York. Todd Blanche. And so you have Trump's personal attorney, Pam Bondi, linked with the Zionists and with the Epstein gang as our head of the Department of Justice, our attorney general. Her deputy is Trump's personal attorney who represented him in a criminal trial. Do you really think that Bondi and Todd Blanche are going to administer justice in a neutral way? Or do you think they're there to do what their boss tells them to do, which is to protect him and his associates at all costs? May 19th, 2025. Here comes old Dan Bongino and Kash Patel. They sit down and they say, you know what? There's no evidence that Jeff Epstein killed himself. I mean, there's no evidence that Jeff Epstein was killed by any other person. Everything says he killed himself. There's no evidence to the contrary. Anyone who suggests anything otherwise is a conspiracy theorist. What? Now, July 9th, you've got Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu flying into Washington, D.C. to pressure Trump to attack Iran, which, of course, we know Trump did. And you know what gift they gave to Netanyahu? They had Pam Bondi go out and announce that the Department of Justice, that their review of the 100,000 or so pages of the Epstein files found no evidence of any wrongdoing by anybody other than Jeff Epstein alone. That's it. There's no blackmail list. There's no names there of anyone else who has done anything wrong. There's no correspondence that suggests there might be any other co-conspirators out there. And she said, basically, she didn't say it in these words, but she basically said, you know, that couple months ago when I was talking about that list on my desk, yeah, it doesn't actually exist. When I said the list was on my desk, I didn't mean it. I didn't mean what I said. So there is an eruption of fury within the MAGA circle online. Good job. Good job. You should be outraged. So Trump tries to get control of this backlash by repeatedly claiming that the Epstein files are a hoax. They were, I mean, how can he even say this with a straight face? You know, I get it. Trump can say anything with a straight face. How can his supporters repeat this with a straight face? The 100,000 pages of Epstein files, including all of these emails that have the, you know, all the source code and everything, they were written by Barack Obama, by Hillary Clinton, by Biden, and by James Comey. And anyone, including his supporters, who believes otherwise are weak. He told you, MAGA, if you don't believe that Obama wrote the Epstein files, you are weak. Are you weak? Did you vote for Trump? Are you weak? You are weak, according to Donald Trump, if you believe that there is truth, that there are legitimate records about Jeff Epstein and his activities. He said he doesn't want your support if you believe that they're real. He said that. I'm not making it up. Now, July 15th, Republican Thomas Massie crosses the aisle, joins with Democrat Ro Khanna to introduce bipartisan effort to force a vote to release the Epstein files. What? The Trump team goes into attack mode. Massie this, Massie's a loser. He's such a loser. He needs to be primary challenged. Good luck. Good luck. Massie wins big time in his congressional district. You are not going to unseat Thomas Massie, but you give it your best shot. So, how are they going to handle this? The next day, Trump, the next day, July 15th, that is the day that Thomas Massie and Khanna introduce bipartisan petition to force a vote to release the Epstein files. The very next day, what did Trump do? The very next day, what did he do? Trump has the Justice Department fire Maureen Comey. Was Comey going after Trump? No. Who was Comey going after? Ghislaine Maxwell. Donald Trump had the number one person in the world going after Ghislaine Maxwell, got her fired. True. A couple weeks later, the Republican-led U.S. House Oversight Committee, remember this oversight committee that's releasing documents, the majority, the control is the Republicans. They have a majority on this committee. They voted 8-2. The Republican-controlled Oversight Committee voted 8-2 to subpoena Ghislaine Maxwell to come haul her ass in front of Congress and make her testify under oath to what she knew about all this. And on that same day, Republican-led Government Operations Committee also voted to subpoena Maxwell to testify to Congress. And you know what their vote was? It was unanimous. Thank you, Mary Kelly. Woo, 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 woo. Thank you for that donation. Appreciate you so much. All right. Also, July 2025. You now have the U.S. House of Representatives, 2 different committees, voting to subpoena Maxwell to come testify before Congress. And this includes Republicans. So what does Trump do? He has Speaker of the House Mike Johnson, who is a Christian Zionist and a total Trump bootlicker, has him recess Congress for the summer early. And Johnson admitted on camera that the reason he was recessing early was to shut down the efforts to pull Maxwell in front of Congress and give Trump space to handle the situation. And how did Trump handle it? July 24th, he dispatched his own personal attorney, Todd Blanche, to meet privately with Ghislaine Maxwell. Unprecedented move. Utter, on its face, corrupt conflict of interest. Indefensible. What does Blanche do? First of all, he brings Maxwell out of the prison. You don't do that. Sends her back later with armful of stuff. We don't know what was in it. Probably, who knows what all she got for that. Cigarettes to pass out or who knows what. He gives her immunity from prosecution for any statement that she makes. Now, this is Donald Trump. This is the guy who represented Donald Trump in a criminal trial in New York. What do you think they're saying in private? You think it might have something like, that guy that keeps wishing you well, that guy who knows that you've got a mountain of dirt on him, that guy who knows everything that you saw him do, who is scared blankless right now? What do you think about getting some little perks? Like, how about we move you to a better, cushier prison? How about, I don't know, let's say we'll not do it yet, but what about maybe a pardon where you don't have to serve your 20-year sentence? And if you don't think that Donald Trump will pardon sex traffickers, have you been watching the news? Have you not seen the last month? So what does Ghislaine Maxwell do? She tells Todd Blanche, she's like, oh yeah, I'll put it on tape. He's got it. He records. I never saw Trump do anything. He was a perfect gentleman. And then we start to hear rumors leaking from the White House that Trump was considering giving a pardon to Maxwell. Maxwell's own lawyer on July 25th suggested it. And when Trump was asked about it, he said, it's not the time. He didn't say, no, I'm not going to pardon that convicted child sex trafficker. He said, not yet. He'll pardon her before it's over. Guaranteed. So what else does he do for her? He transfers her to from a low security prison in Tallahassee to a minimum security camp in Texas. Special treatment for a convicted sex trafficker. Why would you do that? Why would you do a favor for a convicted sex trafficker who just gave a statement saying, oh yeah, Donald Trump's a great guy. He's a perfect gentleman. What if this had been Barack Obama who did it? What if Barack Obama had been in office, MAGA, and someone who everyone knows was involved in child sex trafficking, probably has got some serious dirt on Obama and his involvement? What if Obama sent his personal criminal attorney to go meet with that sex trafficker, sends a box of goodies, transfers the sex trafficker into a better facility, and says, when asked, are you going to pardon this person? And your answer is not yet. MAGA, are you telling me that you would say, oh, yeah, this is totally normal? Of course not. You would be up in arms, and rightly so. You know you would be, you freaking hypocrites. But when it comes to Trump, freaking cult. Freaking brainwashed cult. Yeah, New Jersey Devil says she's playing tennis. She's playing tennis and she's doing her what is it? Her yoga classes. Having a great old time. So, August 2025, House Democrats introduce a resolution. HR 119-635, which was meant to oppose any pardon or clemency for Maxwell. It was voted down. Republicans are not going to let that go through. Trump's Department of Justice in August publishes this Maxwell propaganda. See there? She said she doesn't know anything about it. No need to bring her before Congress. No need to do that. Not that I believe she would have told the truth anyway. I mean, she's a colossal liar and she's been found guilty of perjury. But still, no need to bring her before Congress. I've done nothing wrong and she said so. I know this because my attorney told me that. I swear. September of 2025, Arizona holds a special election because one of their members of Congress died. So they hold a special election to fill the seat and they elect Adelita Grijalva. The congressman that died, it's his daughter, but she had experience, and so they elected her. Here's the problem, though. That petition that Thomas Massie and the Democrats had put together, it had some Republican signatures, had tons of Democrat signatures. You need to force a full House vote. If the Speaker won't bring it up, to compel a full House vote, they would need 218 signatures on a petition. Grijalva would have been the 218th signature on that petition to force a vote on the release of the Epstein files. And so, for the last 2 months, despite the people of Arizona not having a representative in Congress as a result, Speaker Mike Johnson, Trump toady, has refused to swear her into office. And he changed his excuse over and over again. Finally, today, for those watching in the future, today is November 12th, 2025. Johnson had no choice but to proceed with seating the Congresswoman. And sitting in the room up in the balcony were some of the sex trafficking victims of Jeff Epstein. Let me show you just a little bit of this swearing in thing. This is the member of Congress that kind of introduced her. Let me see if I can get this up on the screen. And let me know in the chat. If you can't hear it, let me know. It's not real long. Give me a second here.
And now, with great pride, I rise today to do something we have waited 50 long days to do. Exactly 49 days too long, and that is to introduce our colleague from Arizona, Congresswoman Adelita Grijalva. Since September 23rd, the people of Arizona have been waiting for this day, and the excuses for the delay have changed seemingly daily. First, they said they need an election certificate, though one isn't required. Then they wanted to make sure there was enough pomp and circumstance. Then we were informed about a non-existent Pelosi precedent. At one point, the Speaker went on television and said, quote, "Bless her heart, she is representative-elect, she doesn't know how it works around here." Bless his heart, because here's how it should work. Let's call it the Adelita Grijalva precedent. When the American people vote, this chamber respects their will and seats them immediately. Politics should never come into play. Mr. Speaker, Congresswoman Grijalva is a native Tucsonan.
All right, so that's that's some of him, and then here's just a like 60 seconds of her. Her speech is long. I'm not gonna do the whole thing, but here's a little bit.
This charger actually repairs your phone while
ads.
charging, and
Hold on
everyone
a
thinks
second.
it's too good to be true. Nobody wants one. My friends.
We celebrate this moment today. Our American promise is under serious threat. Basic freedoms are under attack. Healthcare premiums are skyrocketing. Babies are being ripped away from their parents by masked agents. We can and must do better. What is most concerning is not what this administration has done, but what the majority in this body has failed to do. Hold Trump accountable as a co-equal branch of government that we are. It has been 50 days since the people of Arizona's 7th Congressional District elected me to represent them. 50 days that over 800,000 Arizonans have been left without access to the basic services that every constituent deserves. This is an abuse of power. One individual should not be able to unilaterally obstruct the swearing in of a duly elected member of Congress for political reasons. Our democracy only works when everyone has a voice. This includes the millions of people across the country who have experienced violence and exploitation, including Liz Stein and Jessica Michaels, both survivors of Jeffrey Epstein's abuse. They are here in the gallery with us this evening. Thank you for being here.
All right, so that's enough of that. I watched the whole thing. A lot of the standard leftist talking points, all the virtue signaling and everything, typical. But she's right about some of this stuff. Doesn't mean she's wrong just because she's, on the left side of the political spectrum. She's right about, this especially this thing about not seating her in a bid to protect Trump or these people connected to Trump. Now, since this video from earlier today, she has gone on and signed the discharge petition to force a vote to compel the corrupt Department of Justice to release all of its case files related to Jeff Epstein. That does not, getting the petition signed does not release the files. It just means that a full House vote would have to be scheduled. Now, it should come as no surprise that Trump is in full-blown panic mode right now. He can't stop the Democrats from voting. He can't stop the Democrats from he can't flip them and get them to take their names off the petition. So what he's spent the day doing is everything he can to try and pressure the couple of Republicans who have signed on to this petition, trying to get them to take their names off it. I mean, can you imagine this? How you think about this? This is the U.S. president trying to strong-arm members of his own party to get them to stop trying to get files released that would show the American public more information about the biggest sex trafficking operation in U.S. history. How can you be against that? What is the rationale for Trump supporters? The only thing you can do is to buy into that, you parrot that stupid line about how, there's nothing of value in it because it's all a Democrat hoax. Obama wrote the files. Comey wrote the files. Most Trump supporters are not going to say that because they know how damn stupid it is. So he's been going after signatories. He's not going to bother with Thomas Massie. Massey's loving this, and he should. And kudos to Thomas Massie for leading the charge on this. But he went after Lauren Boebert today, staunch supporter of Trump. Had her come sit down in the Situation Room with Trump's enforcers in the DOJ. Sit down with Pam Bondi, sit down with Todd Blanche, sit down with Kash Patel, trying to pressure her to take her name off the petition. Fortunately, she stood firm. After the meeting, she sent out a tweet. She said, I want to thank the White House officials for meeting with me, but I remain committed to ensuring transparency for the American people. So she's not removing her name. Likewise, Trump has been trying to get one of the other Republicans who has signed this petition calling for a full House vote, Representative Nancy Mace. He's been trying to get her. Now, she ghosted him for most of the day. Publicly, they say it's just phone tag. You know, we're playing phone tag. No, when the President of the United States calls you, you pick up the damn phone. But not her, not today. And she eventually she sent a text message to Donald Trump directly. And she released a statement saying, I will never abandon other survivors. What does she mean by that? She herself has a personal history with sex assault and domestic violence. When she was 14 years old, her coach at school had a friend who molested her. And she dropped out of high school a couple years later, didn't finish high school at the time. So she's saying, no, I am not going to, on behalf of other girls who have gone through what I have been through, they deserve justice, they deserve transparency, and I will not betray them. So even though I think Nancy Mace and Lauren Boebert are, I'm not fans, congratulations to them for remaining firm because they know this is the right thing to do. If everyone holds firm and there's no defections, there is going to be a vote next week. Full House vote to release the files. Doesn't mean the files will be immediately released. They won't be. But there will be a full House vote trying to compel the Department of Justice to release all of the files that they have. Now, when you've got Bondi with her history with Epstein's lawyers, when you've got Trump surrounded by, people doing his bidding, when you have like Todd Blanche, when you've got people who used to be MAGA faithful, like Patel and Bongino, flip-flopping and now towing the line and gaslighting their own people that got them where they are. You cannot rely on this corrupt Department of Justice to, one, to give all of the documents to begin with, or two, to give them in a way that is useful, because they could just go through and black everything out, redact everything. So there's still a long way to go, but this is progress. Just an hour or so ago, a frustrated GOP representative, Tim Burchett of Tennessee, he went rogue himself. He said, you know what? Let's just have the vote now. He tried to bring it to he tried to force an expedited vote then and there to release the files. But his own party said, he was out of order, wasn't proper procedure, so it was denied because it wasn't following proper parliamentary steps. But it's a reflection of a growing sense of agitation among even Trump loyalists, among the Republicans. Because now that the Epstein file petition, the release petition, has the necessary 218 signatures, a vote is going to happen sooner or later. And this petition is called a discharge petition. So vote on it. Get on with it. Get it done. That's where we're at. So that's kind of some of what was released today. That's the information I have for you about the vote and why it was controversial seating this, this member of Congress. This is crazy, brazen corruption, all designed to either protect Trump personally or to protect someone or something more powerful than Trump, like a network that maybe has dirt on him. Or it could be both. But it can't be neither. Trump would not go to this degree, throw his own supporters under the bus, do all of these things that on their face are corrupt, like sending his own attorney to go talk privately with Maxwell and then giving her these perks. He would not be doing this if there wasn't something very big and significant that he is afraid of. And that is the exact thing that we need to be made aware of as American citizens. Because if it turns out that he has had something to do with child rape, we need to get him the hell out of office. Set that aside. If the problem is that he is aware that there is a foreign government like Israel that has a spy network that is using child rape as a way to get blackmail on powerful people to try and control our government, which is basically what we assume the Epstein operation was, we need to know that. So whether it's to find out if Trump did it or if it's to find out who Trump is protecting and why, this needs to happen. So don't let it go. Jake says it's Trump protecting Lutnick. I don't know if he's protecting Lutnick. Could be any number of people he's trying to. There's a lot of people connected with this. There was also some emails. I don't have it here in front of me. There was an email also talking about Larry Summers. Larry Summers, if you don't know, my old timers will remember I did a whole series on Genie Oil years ago. I think back around 2014, 2015. I did a long series about the Genie Energy Company, American company, but basically it's a subsidiary of an Israeli oil company. The board of advisors are the who's who of American Zionists and British. You've got on the board of advisors, you've got Dick Cheney, formerly Bill Richardson, I guess Dick Cheney's not on it anymore, but Bill Richardson had been on it. Former governor of New Mexico, who had been to Epstein Island a million times and flew on Lolita Express and was flown around by Maxwell and who I think, if I'm remembering right, I think Virginia Roberts said that she saw him having sex with a minor. But there was him. There was James Woolsey. James Woolsey was the CIA director under Bill Clinton, who Donald Trump, when Donald Trump first ran for president in 2016, he brought James Woolsey on as one of his advisors. Okay, so James Woolsey is on the board, the advisory board for Genie Energy, for Genie Oil. You had Larry Summers. Larry Summers was the Treasury Secretary under Bill Clinton, who is deeply, deeply connected to Israel, to the Zionist network, to the Mega Group. A lot of these people have connections to the Mega Group, the Zionist billionaire network that was using basically social cause, philanthropy causes, funneling money, allegedly going to that, but then funneling it to trying to get certain politicians elected, not just here, but in Israel. Like they were funding the campaign of Ehud Barak, trying to get him in there as prime minister, as one of their guys. Ehud Barak, you may know, is the Israeli prime minister who was photographed coming out of Epstein's house. very close ties to Epstein, financial ties, working on very, very big projects together. This network of people, they are all in Trump's circle. So whether or not, and like I said, I'm totally open to the idea that Trump himself is not personally implicated in these files as having done something. I think he did. I don't think that he has a penchant for young girls, despite having Katie What's-Her-Face, which is a pseudonym, who filed years ago allegations in court that Trump raped her at one of Epstein's parties. But Katie Johnson was the pseudonym used. Setting that aside, we still have other things you can look at. We've got multiple teenage girls, underage, not like 18, 19. I'm talking about like 15, 16, 17, pageant girls who said that, yeah, Donald Trump would walk in and look at us when we were standing there totally naked. So you can't say that there's nothing there. You can't say that there's nothing to suggest that there might be some issues with Donald Trump. Clearly there is. But I think that he probably, especially as he aged, I think most men, naturally, the older you get, the more you're interested in women closer to your age. It would be unusual for him in his 40s, 50s, 60s to have sexual interest in, teenage girls. So I doubt that there's going to be any big revelation that Donald Trump, is having sex with these underage girls. Maybe so. But I think more likely what it is that these people that he's connected to who have helped him in various ways financially and that he is beholden to, who have deep ties to the Mossad, I think that he is protecting them. I would bet my mortgage on that's at least part of it. Tetradiatom, you're full of crap. You're full of crap. It says, I was a model. It's common for people to be standing around when you're dressing. Yeah, people. It is not common for a man to be standing around naked 14 and 15-year-old girls. So stop with the trying to defend Donald Trump. Things move quick when doing modeling. Yeah, I see what you're saying. I also know that you're full of crap. It is not normal. Yes, you are full of crap. It is not normal for men, pageant owners, executives, people like that, to go walking through a room with underage girls who are naked. That is not part of the modeling industry. I'm familiar from my own work as an adult in acting, stage plays, having to do quick changes. Yeah, you get people that walking in and out, costume girls, wardrobe girls bringing stuff in. Me and other men standing there naked changing. That happens. I know it happens the other way too. I know it happens in modeling. But it doesn't happen with children. And you wouldn't go on Howard Stern and brag about it if you were somebody who accidentally went in and accidentally saw some girls, some children naked. You would not do like Donald Trump and go on Howard Stern and brag about it, which is what he did. So, respectfully, I'm not buying it. This is what I'm talking about the defense of Donald Trump. Makes no sense to me. Makes no sense. There's some things that people can defend him for, and it makes sense. I would be if I was a Trump supporter, I'd be saying, oh, but Jake, you're raising a lot of things, but in the end, you've not given any ironclad proof that he's done anything wrong. You're right. I haven't, and I haven't claimed to. I don't pretend to make such claims. But I think that it is unreasonable to defend something that is indefensible. Like, it's normal for men to walk in on girls at a teenage pageant. And if there is, they need their asses kicked. If that's normal, we need to start rallying together to go around to these pageants and find these people and take them out back and fix them if they're walking in on our children when they're naked and then bragging about it on national radio. That deserves some attention from the fathers in this country, if that's the case. But I don't believe that's the case. Anyway, I'll tell you, I'm sorry, I get hot when it comes to protecting kids. Whoo-wee. You'll make me blow my stack fast. I lose my temper over that kind of thing. It's not a QAnon slogan for me. I believe in actually protecting children. And that's why for years now I've been talking about this Epstein stuff. And I really am so pleased that we have momentum, that more and more and more Trump supporters are saying, I just can't go along with this. I did not leave MAGA. Trump left MAGA. I did not leave MAGA. MAGA left me. Whatever you have to say, however you have to say it. As long as the end result is you are not standing in defense of Donald Trump's continued effort to prevent the American people from finding out the truth, we're cool. As long as you are in favor of transparency so that the victims of Jeff Epstein and his network can finally see some people pay for what they've done. There we go. Oh yeah, Ordo Templi Orientis. I haven't talked about that in years. Yeah, I don't know if ever had a firm conclusion or not. I know I was doing it as a series. I need to find those files and dust them off and do that again, or put some of that out again. Ordo Templi Orientis. One of the guys, I won't give his full name, but the name Astor, last name Astor, involved with Ordo Templi Orientis from Australia, was someone who was involved in child porn and stuff. He's one of the ones connected to the sex trafficking ring that I went after in Hollywood. Well, Zeta says, I'm a member and I found your series interesting. Just like with Masonry, there are so many flavors, versions of things. You've got there's different kinds of Masonic organizations. There's different kinds of secret societies. There's different, even Mega Group itself can be considered a secret society, even though they had like Steven Spielberg of all people go and, they paid him to come speak to them. But they could be considered a secret society. They meet a couple times a year. It's kind of like a Bilderberg group thing, but just for Jewish philanthropists trying to, push the, the Zionist agenda in the Middle East. But OTO is the same way. There's, and it's kind of like the Satanic Temple. There's Satan, people talking about Satanism. There's Satanism, but there's all kinds of different people who claim to be Satanists. There's the people who say, we don't actually believe in any deity. We certainly don't believe in demons. We don't believe the devil is real, but we believe this, this, and this, even though we call ourselves Satanists. There's a whole spectrum of people. And I found it to be the same way with people involved in OTO. Spectrum of people that I talk to. Some of them, oh yeah, there's some bad stuff there. Not everybody. For some people, it's just basically just a sex club. Some people, it's more than that. It's a spiritual thing. ecstasy, release, growth, and all this stuff through sex. It really depends on the group that's doing it. So that's why, like, when I've reported on Freemasonry, I always try and say, look, there's all kinds of different versions of Masonry. And what I'm reporting on is this. That doesn't mean that everyone out there who is a Freemason, maybe you're Scottish Rite, maybe you're York Rite, maybe you're this, maybe you're that, you know, just a lot of different stuff. In general, I find mystery schools, historically, mystery schools over time, they've been around since the dawn of man. There have been lots of different ones. And for the most part, I don't think that they're that bad. It's, you know, we're just the way we're wired, trying to understand our place in the universe, trying to understand what happens after we die, what we're doing here, having initiation rites and whatever. I don't have a problem with that. I don't. It's just the only thing that I have a problem with when it comes to something like Freemasonry is when there is concerted conspiracy to use your network to supplant normal systems of government, for example. When you're, you know, through your secret handshakes and backroom deals, you're taking people from within your network with whom you have sworn oaths of secrecy, blood oaths, when you just take from among your own and covertly put your people in positions of authority, positions of power, that's when I have a problem. When these secret combinations, secret conspiracies, things done in the dark that have an impact on other people. What you do in the, you know, what you do with your own life, I have no problem. Do whatever. Into some weird sex stuff, dude, I don't care. Do whatever. If you're into, like, you know, putting on robes and aprons and doing the, you know, the Freemason stuff where you lead the blindfolded guy around the room. He's just wearing a little poncho and nothing else. You got a cable tow around his neck, taking him around the lodge in the circle while he's blindfolded, putting a knife to his chest and, you know, going through a reenactment and all this to convey information. It's weird, but, you know, whatever. I don't care if everybody is an adult making their own decisions, their own choice to do it, whatever. But has to be stuff that is not going to infringe on the rights of other people. And secret societies that embed themselves in halls of power, whether it's in, you know, like a legislature, or in the UK, a big problem in the past, at least, with, you know, just a whole system of justice being perverted, where you've got judges, cops, attorneys, and others all in together, where they understand who's who and doing favors for each other, subverting the system of justice that everyone else is having to live and operate under. That is what I have a problem with. That's what I have a problem with. Beyond the Veil says, I thought you were a Christian, Jake. That's not an underhanded statement. I don't have a problem with anybody doing whatever they want as long as they don't hurt other people. They can believe what they want. They can do what they want. To each his own. Doesn't mean I like it. Doesn't mean I agree with it. I don't support everything that I tolerate. Accepting that other people have a right to do something or engage in ceremonies or rituals or whatever. Whatever. Early Christian church had tons of mystery schools. I've got a set of the Gnostic Gospels written by various early Christian Gnostic groups. Very interesting. People see things differently. I don't presume to know everything. I don't presume to impose my belief system on anyone else. Live and let live, to each his own, is what I say. As long as you're not messing with kids, and as long as you are not trying to usurp authority you don't rightly have from the consent of the people around you, that's what I think. Yeah, Zeta, Tragedy and Hope, great book. Super hard to read. Very fine print, very thick tome of great detail. Whew, that's a tough read, but it is the encyclopedia of the real way the world works and the real power structures controlling everything. Yeah. Anyway, so those are, Michael says, I remember JFK warned us against them. Yeah, I've quoted JFK many times about the secret societies. Part of it is, it was also at the height of the Red Scare. He was partly talking not just about like Masons necessarily, but secret societies involving the promulgation of communism and the spread of communism. That was part of it too. But he was also very much aware of what the CIA was doing. The CIA is, in a way, a secret society. So, leave those kids alone. Hey, teacher. Hey, Donald, leave those kids alone. Anyway, so let's do this giveaway, because somebody is going to get Jeff Epstein. This air freshener didn't hang itself. Let me find my marker. All right. Let me put on some crappy music here while we go through this. It'll take me just a minute. As I'm going through this, if anyone made a donation through any other source other than the super chat. Oh, I see. I got one from Nancy. Thank you, Nancy. All right, so Nancy, I'm going to put your name here, Nancy. I'll show off these slips in a minute. But anyway, if anyone made donations outside of these super chats that I see immediately in front of me, let me know. I'll put the links up one more time so you can see it. Where's that music? If this music is too loud or not loud enough, let me know. First, I'll pop these links back in. Oh, New Jersey's Devil said, I just sent a second one, Jake. All right, I'll check there. Yeah, I can't play any copyrighted music. I can't play any good stuff like that because, we'll get the copyright strikes. We got to use this generic stuff. All right. Got it, Nancy. So, Nancy, I'm doing two for you there. All right, let me go look. Yeah, ZMCG says, oh yeah, never emailed you to get mine for playing the game. Yeah, man. And that email, by the way, is jake@blackstoneintel.com. And 4 for Mary. Kelly Rebel. Gina. B3, where are you at? I'm seeing yours. It came in a currency I don't recognize. Thank you. I'm going to read off all of these in a minute. Australia, cool. I ought to have my glasses on. I'm scribbling names down here, and I know it looks awful, my handwriting here. I can't see what I'm doing. All right. Okay, let me go through these real quick. I'm going to put them in here. All right, we have got 2B3. And for everyone who's going to say, oh, what's your satanic ring on? That is Magnum PI. That's the Magnum PI ring. All right, 2B3, we've got that one. And then 2B3. 2 entries there. That uranium guy. Thank you very much, that uranium guy. Luvendron, I don't know how to pronounce it, but thank you. Gina. Woohoo. Yeah, it's a cross of Lorraine. All right. Mary. Luvendron says, no need for me, Jake. All right, tell you what, Luvendron, do you mean no need to do a drawing for you? Is that what you mean? Okay. What about this? You can tell me what you think about this, Luvendron. I did get a $3 donation from Barry James. And normally I only enter someone in if they've done $5 or more. Do you want to say if your name gets picked that could go to Barry James, maybe? All right, thanks. Very good. Thank you for being cool about that. Nancy. In there. And then got 4 here for Jeremy. One, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Risha. Thank you very much. Let's get you in here. Thank you. Okay. All right. Have I missed anybody? I'm looking. I'm not seeing any others, but let me know if I have missed someone. Sometimes I don't get notifications on my phone for some of these other things, or they're slow. Okay, we'll fade that out. All right. I guess we are going to do this drawing here. Hey, thanks so much, everybody, for your donations tonight. Isn't it crazy that here we are 2025, still talking about this Epstein stuff. Crazy this hasn't been dealt with. We'll get to it, though. We'll just keep pushing. Trying to make sure I shake it up really good. All right. Okay, this is the drawing for the Jeff Epstein air freshener. And the winner has the option of choosing, if you prefer, you can also choose like a month of Substack subscription or Patreon subscription where you can get my reports there either way, or the air freshener. All right, so here we go. I'm going to reach in here, grab one. All right, I think I've got just one. All right, who's it going to be? Place your bets. Risha Metter is our winner tonight. Woohoo! Round of applause. Now, for everyone, I chip in and help some people that I like to watch. And when they're doing a contest, I hate it when I lose, even though I look at the odds and I'm like, yeah, you know what, probably not going to win. But still, there's that, I wish I had gotten it, especially if I've gotten multiple entries in and I still don't win it. So that's why I always like to offer a consolation prize, and it's of no real monetary value, but if any of you who did donate tonight, if you'd like either a personal letter or a postcard from me, I'd be glad to send you one to show you my gratitude for you chipping in and supporting my work. So all you have to do is email me at jake@blackstoneintel.com. jake@blackstoneintel.com. Just say, hey, I donated during your live stream. I'd love to get a postcard or something. Here's my address. And for Risha, if you already have, I can't remember if you have one of these Epstein things. If you do, we can get you something, we can do something different. Just let me know, if you want it, we'll do that. But it's, I'll put it in the chat here, jake@blackstoneintel.com. The only drawback to me putting out my email address like this is that I've got, viewers watch this and people sign me up for their mailing lists, and they're usually the kind that you can't unsubscribe from, and they just spam you with tons of stuff. I've got some people that have been now for years. I'll send back, say, hey, I appreciate it, but I really don't want to get this mailing. They just ignore. And it's not one, so I end up just having to send it all to the spam folder. But anyway. All right, so there we go. There's our winner for tonight. You're all wieners. I'm a wiener. You're a wiener. Wouldn't you like to be a wiener too? As long as it's not an Anthony. All right, guys, listen, I am going to wrap it up because I do intend to come back the next couple of days with another live stream. If you haven't seen the one from yesterday, jam-packed with information about immigration, what's going on in the country, the out-of-control actions of ICE, so on and so forth. Check that out. Really would appreciate it. And after the stream is over, if you are watching this after the stream has ended, one thing that you can do that supports getting this message out to a larger number of people is just go leave a simple comment in, not in the chat, but in the comment section, because that shows engagement and that promotes the video. That sometimes will get YouTube's algorithm to pop it out to more people. And I don't mean necessarily even people that don't, I'm talking about just to my own people that are already following and subscribed, but just don't see, YouTube doesn't even show my own people my videos. This will help push it out to more of them. Because like some of you are saying in the chat, you don't even know, you don't get any notifications, you don't even know. Make sure that you do go on, if you're watching on your phone, go down to where you're subscribed to my channel, look at where the notification bell is, and double check and make sure you have it set to all notifications. If you have it on the option that says personalized or one of these others, you're not going to get most notifications when I'm streaming or whatever. It's got to be set to all. And even if you have it set to all, YouTube will flip it to something else sometimes. So you got to keep double checking. Anyway, that's going to be it. Thank you all for joining in tonight. I appreciate all of you. And I just say this final thing that I don't say often enough, I guess. Final thing is this. I know the difference between, or at least in my mind, there's a big difference between someone who voted for Donald Trump because they thought, you know what, I don't want to vote for Biden, I don't want to vote for Hillary, I don't want to vote for Kamala, I don't like their ideology, I'm going to vote for Trump because I feel that that's the better option. I am not trying to shame you. I'm not trying to say that you're bad, you're dumb, you're an idiot, nothing like that. When I criticize Trump supporters, I'm talking about these hardcore, crazy people that they will defend him no matter what. They will cut off relationships with their loved ones. They will start arguments in public places. They will, talk about those dirty Mexicans, whatever, just hateful, mean-spirited people. When I'm talking about, in my shows, I'm talking about the Trump supporters, those are the people I'm talking about. Not the ones that are like, oh yeah, he's kind of a big mouth and I like that, that's funny, whatever. My criticism is not of people who just voted for Trump. My criticism is, because I've got family members that voted for Trump. I don't think they're idiots. I don't agree with their vote, but that's not it. But my problem is with the people who are like, we will support Trump no matter what he does, and we just don't care if he violates the Constitution, because we need somebody to do the right thing, and he should be above the law if that means he's going to own the libs or anything like that. That's crazy. That's bad for our country. I don't believe in it. And that's what I'm talking about. I just don't want to come across like I'm an ass to everybody that may have voted for Trump. That's not the problem. That's not the problem. Anyway, thank you all for watching. Have a great night. And I will talk to you in the next day or two with another live stream. Take it easy.